All right, thanks for watching. This is Watch Symposium. I'm Austin, and let's talk about let's talk about polishing. Okay, and look, if you're looking to get pre-owned pieces, you gotta think about the idea of a watch being polished because when it comes to collectors, that is a huge no-no. Okay, they don't want anything polished. If it's got scratches and marks on it, that's fine. They just don't want it polished. Okay, so um, there are a lot of questions that you want to ask when you're looking at a pre-owned watch. Are all the parts Rolex? Are the parts original? Has it been serviced? Has it been serviced by Rolex? One thing you gotta ask is, has it been polished? And I'd go a little further and ask them, has it been polished by Rolex? Okay, because my Explorer 2 was polished, but not by Rolex. And I'm, yeah, that's kind of not cool. Okay, I would have liked for Rolex to have done the polishing. All right, but but yeah, that's something that you need to ask because you know I notice a lot of times on the internet when you're looking at these pictures, these watches will just be magnificent looking, right? I mean, I'll give you an example. Jewelers on Time. So, look, a lot of their watches look great, but they polish all their watches. So, of course, they're going to look great after the polishing. But, they've shaved off like a small portion of the watch. And yeah, it's just you know, people, some people don't like that, okay? So, if you see a picture of a watch and it looks absolutely fantastic, there's a good chance it's been polished, and that's why. So I would ask, okay, and a lot of the times, these like pawn shops and watch stores, they really don't know. I don't think. Okay, I think they might know if it's polished, but they don't. They might not know if it's polished by Rolex or whether it was serviced by Rolex, and so yeah, I'd just be really careful because I don't think they can tell you a lot about the history of the watch, and they might not be upfront about their lack of knowledge. So, all right, my feelings on polishing. Well, okay, the GMT2 that I have has never been polished. I didn't have it polished this time. Will I ever have it polished? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Probably not. Only if it, really looks like it needs it. There's something about polishing. It's almost like it's like once you do it, you've done it. It's like it's almost like a non-polished watch is somewhat like virginal, and once it's been polished, it's like it's been grinded down and it's done. Um, my thing is if it's been polished, polish. Okay, I mean if it keeps, eventually Rolex might have to replace the case, and so what? Okay, but but if you get a watch and it has not been polished, I would resist polishing it. And why? Well, I think I've been affected by these collectors that sort of scoff at polished watches. Okay, it sort of affected me, and now I'm starting to think of that way too. Um, I look at my GMT a little bit more favorably because it hasn't been polished than my other two watches. Okay, whether that's right or wrong, good or bad. Okay, that collector mentality has sort of affected me, and so yeah. Okay, so should you, yeah, should you just not polish? Well, I mean, it depends. I guess if you're planning on selling the watch eventually, then probably you shouldn't polish it if you want a collector to buy it. But if you do polish it and then put it on the internet, a lot of buyers will just look at the shininess of it and get it. Whereas a buyer, I guess, looking at a piece that hasn't been polished but has marks all over it might be turned off by those marks. Okay, so I guess it depends on who you're trying to sell it to. If you're trying to just sell it to somebody who wouldn't even think to ask about a polish it and try to sell it. Okay, if you're trying to sell it to a collector, Don't polish it. Just keep the marks. They'll be cool with the marks. Yeah, it's tough. What about if you plan on just keeping your watches like me? Okay, well, like I mentioned, I don't think I'll probably ever polish the GMT. The other two, like I said, I mean they've been polished. I like I mentioned in another video. I wish I had the Explorer 2 polished because it already has been polished. So I should have just gotten it, completely perfect looking, in this last overhaul. But I didn't. I thought, well, I'll just not polish it this time. It didn't quite need it, and it doesn't quite need it. But there are some places that it could have used it, and I gotta say, it is nice when it comes back and it's so nice and shiny, and oh, they look so perfect. Um, anyway, I don't know. I don't know if this is a very clear um, video. I've been all over the place, but yeah. Basically, in a nutshell, ask if a watch has been polished, and if it hasn't, think twice about it. If it has, and it looks great, oh, get it. Okay. Um, if it hasn't and it doesn't look great, and there are a lot of superficial scratches, well, maybe you can get it and polish it, but then it'll be polished. Okay. Um, if it has been polished and it looks great, well, yeah. I mean, it's been polished. That's why it looks great. Okay. And yeah, to polish or not polish. I'm sorry, I can't give you a definitive answer, but again, I shy away from it if it has not been polished. I don't want to de-virginitize it or deflower it or whatever it is. Okay. Anyway, that is a weird email. I can't even fucking talk today. Okay. It's a weird video. It's all over the place. Not a good video. Not one of my bests. Hope you liked it anyway. Take care.